Welcome to It's Your Season with your host,
Mckenzie Bratton,
and Elvin F. Bratton Jr.
Everything is Ecclesiastes. To everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven.
Yes, we want you to enjoy yourself, relax yourself, and be part of an experience which we call It's Your Season.
Today's guest is, and it's an honor for me to talk about her. Her name is Sandra Mckenzie.
Honor for you, honor for me. You remember, go ahead, continue on what you got to say, girl.
And we want to tell you a little bit about her bio.
Yes, her bio. Her bio is very interesting. Her bio is very impressive, come to think about it. When you think about it, her bio...
And she lives what she says.
Oh, my.
She lives what she says.
And that's what you want to know about someone with a bio. Break it down.
Sandra Mckenzie is a published integrative and aesthetic physician assistant.
Come on.
Certified personal trainer.
Yes.
Certified holistic nutrition specialist.
Say that real quick.
I can't.
Okay.
Certified life coach. Zumba instructor with more than...
You said Zumba?
Yes.
When you start shaking in it? Okay, go ahead.
Zumba instructor with more than 20 years of experience as a health and wellness specialist.
What?
She was recently featured in She Finds magazine for microneedling with PRP.
Come on.
And has won numerous awards related to her dedication to overall health.
Hold on. How many awards?
Numerous. That means a lot.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, go ahead.
Sandra's experience includes consulting and working with thought leaders in integrative, anti-aging, and functional medicine, including Dr. Al Sears, author of The Doctor's Heart Cure, Dr. Vincent Pedre, author of Happy Gut, to Dr. Raphael Kelman, author of The Microbiome Diet, The Whole Brain and the Microbiome Breakthrough. She also consults and works with organizations and providers interested in expansion of their services to include integrative and spa services. While working with Dr. Sears, Sandra facilitated Wellness Center and became certified in hyperbaric oxygen and stem cells. She provided individualized treatment plans, prescribed medical grade supplements and IV vitamins, and provided aesthetic services, included microneedling with PRP, PRP joint injections, P shots, O shots, weight loss and nutritional programming, ozone therapy, bioidentical hormone replacement, and other therapies.
Oh, my Lord.
As an integrative holistic provider and wellness coach, Sandra is passionate about helping her clients achieve sustained results with an individualized approach to therapy. She is committed to her clients and is available during and after goals are achieved, which leads to continued success. She states, "I am very fortunate, honored, and humbled to do something I love while helping others attain their goals." How many of us can say that?
That sounds like saying.
You know, when I hear about these great things that she's doing, I said, thank you, Lord, that we didn't go into the music industry.
Come on,
because look what we would have been missing as she contributed. God has her contribute to the world. That beautiful brain, not saying it would have been wasted. Let's face it, she has a beautiful brain that God gave her, and I am so glad she's walking in her calling. I am so excited that we did not do the music industry.
And you know what? Come to think about it, let's show the people what I'm talking about. Before there was TLC, there was the best looking 3 girls I ever seen in my life. Where's my camera? Right over here. Come on. Look how young you was, babe. You look how young you was. And look at
how long I was.
Look how young you were. Look how young.
Look how young we were.
Look. And look at Sandy over there. She look like she about to take somebody's jaw. And if Kim is out there, we
yes, Kim.
Wow. Welcome, Sandy, to your season. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Good to see you all.
Yes.
Nice introduction.
Yeah.
But Kimmy, you would have taken that music industry by storm. What a voice.
God be the glory. Look, I couldn't have done it without you girls. You know, they were trying to push one person. I was like, no, I'm not doing nothing without my girls.
Yeah.
It's either all of us or none of us. So guess what? It was none of us because I love you guys. You're my family.
Yeah.
I would not have done it without them.
Yeah. Wow. And we got plenty more stuff to talk about this young lady.
And I have to say, this sister.
Oh, now you want to take my shot.
One thing. I'm sorry. I just have to say this one thing. I will always forever love her because we're connected. God put us back together in this time for this time. We're blood connected by the blood, the Lord. And I love her. She's the only one that came. I was still saying to today that came through a blizzard to see us get married. The only one. So I just, to me, that proved everything to me. Everything. Who does that? And she's still here today in my life. And I thank God that God brought her back into our lives.
Guys. I feel blessed to know you, but you both of you as well. So I'm definitely glad to be here.
And that's a
good.
Yes, we are so glad too, Sandy. We are so glad.
If I'm not speaking, then it's probably that I can't really hear what you're asking me, but the connection goes in and out. But
it's okay.
We'll take it slow.
It's okay. I see it up there. It's coming up here. Yeah, it's gonna shoot back. But like I said, we are honored to have her. And she can't. Isn't it ironic? She saw us get married, and it's been 25 years, and we're gonna be 25 years celebrating our anniversary. Good God Almighty.
Together.
So great.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
What a blessing.
Go ahead.
Yes,
What a blessing.
Okay, my first question is, what led you to go into this field? What's your story?
Yes.
Well, I've always had a passion for health and wellness, and I always wanted to make people feel better. I didn't know what it was that would be where I would wind up, but I winded up saying that because I always had a love for medicine. But there was something about that love for medicine when I went in to become a PA that I did not like the traditional medicine. But I learned all I could. And when I graduated, I started to look at more of the prevention. I worked in HIV, and I worked with different diseases when I came out of school. And in working with HIV, we know that there's a big prevention that, because we know that a lot of HIV is the way you get it, right? So we know about using drugs and some other things. And so you work on the end of prevention. And my journey just took off from there. The other part of it was I always had an issue with my weight. And I had been on every diet you can think of on the market, and I never was able to lose weight. It was when I started to go back to school, and we know that I was a single parent with Solange, that I stopped focusing on my weight and I started focusing on taking care of my daughter, and the weight just came off. And the more that we're able to understand and grow and know what kind of choices are, the more that we will be able to step into a realm of naturally losing weight and feeling better about ourselves. One of the things is to know that there's a component of stress that leads to a lot of weight gain and some illnesses that we have. And I was always passionate about trying to think about not putting the Band-Aid on and why things were going the way they were going. And I worked in medicine for quite a while. I ran urgent care centers. I mean, this has been more than 20 years. I've been a PA. I mean, I graduated in 98. And I just, writing that prescription was just something that was very hard. And the more education I received, the harder it became, because I knew I was just putting a Band-Aid on whatever it was. We know that's how we're taught. We're taught that there are certain medicines that we take for high blood pressure and diabetes, and So that pretty much is it. It's prevention is actually the cure, can cure disease. And looking at how to heal your body is definitely a way of curing disease. I mean, there's different institutes like the Cancer Treatment Centers of America that now have an integrative department because they know that that is basically the main focus in how we can cure people, is looking at what's going on with the body and particularly in the gut. But there's no other way, and there's no looking back.
Right.
And if I can get to more people and educate more people about diet, and particularly not just diet, but cultural sensitivity when it comes to diet. If your ancestors ate beans, then you're probably going to be able to eat beans and be okay with it. But if you are just starting off eating beans, then you may have a problem, because we know gut function is important to overall health. You've probably read all of this stuff, microbiome. Everybody's talking about the gut. You get bad news and you feel it in your gut. We know that that's the center for immunity, and food is one of the most important components to understanding how we become sick, as well as environment and a whole lot of things. And I mean, I know that this is we just have to get to the topics, and there's a lot of information about different things, but that has been where my passion has been, in lifestyle, in food, in understanding that everyone is different when it comes to what they're eating, how they're eating it, and what they're doing for exercise. One size does not fit all. If you have somebody that has lost weight, in fact, it may be that person that lost weight found a diet that was carved out for them. That's the way they ate that way anyway, you know. So
Right.
whereas the next person is going to try it, and it's not the foods or the way they like to eat, and it doesn't work for them for the long term. But education is key. And there was a part of my journey where I did home visits for maybe 8 years, and I was able to get in the home of patients and have that discussion with them. After I did the medical side, I had to see their medications and everything. I was able to say, okay, no one is looking. I can talk to them now about the things that I'm not supposed to talk about, but food and why are they on all of these medications and things like that. So,
have you always wanted to start your own business but didn't know where to begin? Have you already started but realized you were lacking the basic essentials for establishing your venture? We have good news for you. Bay Scholars Inc. has created an online entrepreneurial course that will show you step by step how to start your business and the requirements needed to maintain it. Through use of whiteboard animation and screencast videos, our Young Entrepreneur Program basic course will give you a thorough understanding while keeping you engaged and anticipating the next lesson. And the best part is that this course is completely free. Go to www.yepbayscholars.org and start learning today.
Wow. When do you think it's time for any person to try alternative medicine? Because for me, it was when regular medicine wasn't doing nothing for me, and it made me feel worse than better.
Before anything happens, Believe it or not, we have signs of illness. And it just comes in a big boom all of a sudden. We're just, the way the world works, and we know the way we receive our lessons, right? Even if you look at it biblically, the ceiling comes down, and then it's when we get a wake-up call. Sometimes you'll get a wake-up call, and it may not, by design, someone else may be going through something, and then they have suffered something, and it makes you see. So sometimes someone else's mishap allows you to change your life, because you're like, oh, it happened to so and so, so I'm gonna make sure it doesn't happen to me if you are walking in that path. Right. So some people's the misfortune is something that we take and we make ourselves better. I mean, this is just the way it doesn't feel right, but it's the way we learn, whether it's our own mishap or someone else's mishap. So at any point is a time to get yourself and to eat right and do the right thing, because we know that it's not a matter of if it will happen, it's a matter of when. Yeah. So we have these things that happen, and if you talk to enough people, they'll tell you, you know, when I get a patient that comes in and they have, let's say, an autoimmune disease, or autoimmune like rheumatoid, thyroid, meaning your own body is attacking your own healthy cells. I take my medical part, and usually I take an hour with my patients, but we have to go back, and I have to say, do you remember when you were stressed? How many years ago? When was the first time that you ever felt this way? And they go back to childhood. When I was 7, I noticed I had bumps, I had hives, so I'm telling you, this goes back all the way to when you're a child, or when you remember you had something happen to you. So we have to think about health in a way of not when it happens, when it's right here, but what's going on with you? Are you not sleeping well? Has your circadian rhythm been interrupted somehow? Are you getting hives? And I always say the people who get hives are the healthiest people, because they're getting a sign, right? Hives means something's going on. And so you try to reverse it. Some people don't have a sign, right? So the people who get this, who their body is speaking to them, are the healthiest, are the ones that I'm jealous of. I want to get a hive, so I know what I have to do not to get them again. And hives are brought on by the number one thing, stress. You know, you're in a stressful situation, and all of a sudden you start getting hives. And a lot of illness is brought on by stress, which is why when you see an oncologist, if you have cancer, one of the first things he says is, you know, you have to reduce your stress. And people just think that stress is something that's out in the air. You know, oh, what do you mean reduce what? You mean breathe better air? Because it's something you can't feel. You just know that he can tell you that, because stress doesn't mean you're outside running and screaming around at people and you can, oh, I'm stressed out. Stress comes in a way of internalizing things that are going on in your lives, and not moving out of an environment that you know you probably should move out of, because you're either not sleeping at night, or you know your husband's not coming home the way that he should. And anyway, stress is usually a motivator for disease, because when you are stressed, you have adrenal glands. There's a cascade of hormones and different things that go on in the body, because remember, we need these hormones in order to get away from catastrophe, right? You need to have hormones to be able to tell you your adrenaline kicks in, run. You need to be able to know when there's danger. It's that fight, flight, fright. And there's an epinephrine, the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system will come into play. And then a cascade of events will happen in your body. And then you get atypical, you get cells that divide in the wrong way. People are running around trying to correct things, and that's when you have autoimmune cells attacking healthy cells, cancer cells, all kinds of different things. So stress is usually an indicator. And with what happened with, if it's a Bell's palsy or Lyme disease, usually it's a virus that is implicated, but that virus has been there. And what rides that virus and pushes it to the crust is usually stress. Stress.
Wow.
So it's always around. Cancer cells we all have, but it's usually something that happens to make them come out, right? So we have all of these things in our body, but there's something that will happen to perpetuate it. There are different types of stress. We know there's psychological stress, and then there's trauma, right? We know that there's what you can feel like somebody who has fallen down a flight of stairs or has tripped on the sidewalk. Their blood pressure will go up, even if they haven't injured themselves. So we know that that's another component of stress. So at any time, is it a good time to prevent, to not get it? You don't want to wait until it's there. You kind of want to put things in your life to not make it, to know that you just want to be as zen as possible. But we usually have some signs. Things, we think we're handling things, but we're not. And, you know, we say that there are things that you can change, right? Because we know that things abide, that God has put things in your path, and things are to me, they're by design. For every relationship or everything that you go through, you should always be able to say, at that moment, I'm angry, but you should be, I always say, you'll look back one day and say, that's what God wanted it for. Everyone is in your life for a reason and a season. And it's the same thing when you have an illness, right? Because I was listening to what Elvin said in one of the shows when he said that a part of you getting Bell's palsy made him see things woke him up. So it's not to say that it was a good thing, but sometimes it could be worse. It's a sign that something needs to come back. But some people have a heart attack. Some people have a stroke and they're incapacitated. They're in a wheelchair. So there's no minimizing it, right? Because you're going through it, but you can get through it. But it means that there's something going on that we need to address with it. And that's all it means. It means that it's not fully addressed, right? It could be the mineral deficiencies, the vitamin B12s, and it could be a lot of things. But I'd say that when these things happen, when you get the little signs, it's our way of saying, okay, let me do something here, because something on a larger scale is probably going to happen. It may not be next year, may not be next month, maybe tomorrow, but it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when these things will happen. I mean, if you continue to live in a place with mold, you may think, well, it's been here for 20 years and I haven't had an issue with mold. And then the next year you're on a ventilator, or you can't breathe, or you have some COPD stuff, and they say, well, it was the mold. But what do you mean? I've been in that mold house for 25 years. It doesn't matter. So you lasted 25 years, but it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So at any time is a time for us to make sure we're exercising. And so we always talk about exercise. But one of the most important things is your circadian is not into when you mess with your circadian, I will not take a nighttime job. I don't care if they want to pay me more money than I've ever seen in my life. I do not want to work through midnight, because I know I will be sick. I will suffer the consequences, because I will throw off my circadian at the time I go to bed to the time I wake up, because your body knows that's your restorative time. Your cells, everything, if you think you need to rest, your body, your cells, your adrenals, your heart, they need to rest so they can come back swinging. I mean, it's the same thing with diabetes. How I get people off of medications is I always tell them, you have to give your pancreas that secretes the insulin. You got to give it a rest. That's the way you do it. Fasting, stop feeding it and keeping it going. Everything needs to rest to come back swinging. Your brain, everything got to rest. So your circadian is important. If you've been losing sleep, then that's a part of illness that will trigger you to be illness. So there are signs. Some people say, oh, I started getting insomnia, but they're not looking at that as a sign of something that is going to lead them to a illness. If you look at some of the things that people will, when you look at disease, if you're losing sleep, if you are getting a headache, they're like, oh, I have a headache today. No one's thinking that this is the precursor that you see in all of these things. If you ever had this, if you ever had that, if you ever had this, they're just like, it's isolated for them. It's an isolated thing. And it's just human nature. But at right now is the time to don't wait till you're sick. Right now is the time to make sure you put these things in your life that you know you're thinking about what you're eating. 75, 70, there's no 100% of anything. Like you see all of these diets and all of these things, and what they tell you, there is no such thing. There is no such thing as 100% of good eat. Don't eat gluten. Don't eat there's no way. And you know, in fact, when I have I know I'm switching and we talked about illness, but when I have patients that are having babies, so part of when they come to see me is if they have polycystic ovaries, problems with ovaries. One of the things I tell them is you kind of want to eat everything, because when you have children, it's natural selection. We know in natural selection, biblically, you know that people live in different places, which is why they look different, right? When they had to, when God sent them here and they had to wander the desert over here and they have to go over here, they had to their offspring has to survive in either the heat or the cold, and you see that's why we look different. It's the same thing with food and what we do. If you're having a baby and you don't feed them gluten because I'm gluten free, that child will have seizures if you try to give them the gluten. I'm eating everything. I'd rather make sure that they're prepared to not be able to break things down and foods down. But at any point is a time that you jump into prevention. Get your exercise in. When you're in the best health, right? When you're in the best place is when you know you need to keep yourself good. Is when that's what you need to do. But when we get a sign, like I've had, when you get a sign, because I have something called Raynaud's, but when you get a sign that your body is responding in a different way, that's when you have to say, okay, you have to have a conversation with it. What is it that you need in order to get yourself better? And it will tell you. So your body is telling you that there's a deficiencies that you need, but you know, like we were talking, Kim, it's the vitamin B12s and a lot of other things. And the issue with medication is with supplements is that unless they're pharmaceutical grade, we know that the stuff that they put in these supplements in the stores they bypass the gut, and they go through the gut and they get broken down by the gut, and a lot of them are in your urine, and you know they're excreted. So very little goes back to the bloodstream to get utilized, which is why you overdose on them, right? You give yourself more than what the box says. If the box says 1, you take 2, because we know that it's not going to do anything to you, and it's probably not so pharmaceutical grade anyway.
Understanding cardinal directions is simple. All you need to know is 4 basic directions: north, south, east, and west. Let's use a map to understand how to apply these directions. With a map upright, cardinal directions will be positioned like so, with north pointing upward, east pointing towards your right, south pointing downward, and west pointing towards your left. With that in mind, we now know that Washington, North Dakota, and Maine are located north in the United States. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland are located east. Florida, Texas, and New Mexico are located south. And Utah, Nevada, and Colorado are located west. You can combine the cardinal directions to express locations of places accurately. For example, New York is located northeast in the United States. When you are outside, you can use a pocket compass to understand which direction you are traveling. If you have no interest in a pocket compass, then you can simply use your phone, which comes pre-installed with a compass application. Now you know what is and how to apply cardinal directions. Practice using these directions often as they are necessary for travel. And remember to always keep it very simple.
Was interested in what we're going to talk about later about the IV drip. I'm really interested in that. I want to see if my insurance will take care of that, because I somebody on my job and she loved the B12, the B shot. She said it lasted a whole week for her.
I don't know if I missed anything, but there was a poor connection. But to all of the viewers and all of your people, right now is the time for you to think about it. You know, you have to ask yourself, what environment are you living in? Why does everybody have thyroid issues? What's going on? All these buildings going, all of this smog. Right now is the time, because it's we got all of this technology with magnetic frequencies that aren't good. That's why you should never sleep with your watch, your smartwatch, off your computers. Because they disrupt cells. It's cell disruption. And so right now, as you know that we're living in this world with all kinds of smog and computers and things that will throw our cells off, right now is the time to be thinking, I need to be proactive because I know these things are here and they're going to make me sick. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
Okay. Well, yeah. See, that's some excellent information. I mean, I'm getting a little nervous. I got to check myself out.
Turn your phone off.
I hope it's not because I'm losing my head.
No.
The first step is to try to talk them into getting wires instead of Bluetooth, which my girls they don't do any Bluetooth. They will not do any. My brother's looking at me because I keep telling him about the Bluetooth in his ear. My brother's here with me, and he keeps the Bluetooth here, and he just gave me a look.
He probably gave you that look. Said, thanks a lot.
You shouted me out, right?
Yeah. Trying to blow my spot up. Thanks a lot, sister.
Try to get
you know what? So yeah, you got to let them use that. I want to ask you, Sandy, how do you hope to impact lives?
Well, definitely with what I'm doing with consulting. I worked, as you know, from the bio, blah blah blah, right? I worked with Dr. Kelvin. But those are people that can afford to come. You know, those are people that have money and they can pay to come and visit. So my thing is to make sure that I can get out, people get a bigger forum, and education to me should be free. You know, we're setting up the blog on my website, on the Integrative Health and Beauty Spa website. I would like to send out newsletters. So I'm going to get a list of more of a list of emails and send them out to my family and friends, and hopefully I do more empowerment events, because that's what I was doing before. But that's where I would like to make sure that the education, and I provide the resources. I think because I'm only one person, I can only be physically someplace, and you can only physically see one. Like if you're having a doctor's or any kind of appointment, you can only see one person. But this kind of forum is a good start in that what is exactly what you're asking, how to make an impact. You'll get enough people watching the show, and You'll have more people that speak, but this is, I hope I've made some kind of impact with anyone who's watching. So this again is a way to get this kind of information out. I will definitely love to send you some stuff that I put together as far as nutritional guidelines and exercise guidelines, because again, I do nutritional and exercise programming. Because it's individualized. Diets don't work. It's not a one size fits all. And in fact, if you've been to a nutritionist and the nutritionist gives you the food pyramid and tells you to eat brown rice, not white rice, that is no way helpful. That is like there is no person that walks in your office that does not know what they should do. They have heard it over and over again. Eat this, not that. But why is there obesity? So, right? I mean, if you ask that obese person, they'll tell you, well, I know I'm not supposed to eat this. I know it's not about educating them the same way. You cannot continue to do the same thing and expect to see different results. Everybody knows. They're eating that the McDonald's and these things, and they know, they're like, I know I shouldn't be eating this. So that is not going to work. It should be, it should be 2 weeks or 3 weeks of what they like to eat, cheat meals. There should be all kinds of, they should be able to eat it every now and then. It shouldn't be that way. And I think, yeah. So I mean, when I get,
they get on me about butterpecan ice cream.
Oh, what about ice cream? I'm sorry. What were you asking?
Yeah, he gets on me. He gets on me about Wendy's and butter pecan ice cream.
Wait.
But then he asks for his
He gets
cookies.
on you about what? Hear me?
He gets on me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
I said, he gets on me about Wendy's and my butter pecan ice cream. And, he doesn't know, but I have like little things where I hide. In the jar.
I know.
Oh,
you
my
can't hide nothing
chocolate.
from
Yeah,
me.
because it's this chocolate. Do you know those little bunny rabbit chocolate things with the filling in it? I have it once in a while. So I tell him, I'm trying to eat healthy. I'm not all the way there yet, but I'm not. Look, she's the one that introduced me to the turkey burgers. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the bomb. I still keep with that. But I tell him sometimes I have to have my butter pecan ice cream. That's all.
That's okay. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, the butter beef. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, it's more than just a butter pecan ice cream. There's GMOs. There's if you have somebody that has an issue with their thyroid per se, and we know that soy is not good for the thyroid. It's pretty much in everything, right? So, if you're eating, if I've had patients that have diabetes and they've stopped all the carbs, right? That's what the doctor tells them, sugar carb, and they're eating nothing. Oh, I eat a lot of chicken. I eat a lot of beef. I eat vegetables. But the beef and the chicken that they're eating eats corn and soy. So they're spiking. Their blood sugars are spiking up because you are what you eat. You cannot. I mean, it's just like that story. There's an author, Dr. Gundry, and he wrote The Plant Paradox. Stephen Gundry, and I love his philosophies. I mean, I had that book in my office, and I always tried to push it, but he's radical. However, there's that story he tells about when he went to England, and his kids love Kentucky Fried Chicken. And he went to England and they went to get Kentucky Fried Chicken, which he was against. But let's go get them Kentucky Fried. And they were eating it. And they said, this is not chicken. This is fish. And then he said, no, this is chicken. No, that the kids they pushed it away. They said, this is fish. So he went to ask them why does your chicken taste like fish? They said, well, they eat a fish diet.
Oh, wow.
The diet, the chicken, they eat fish.
Wow.
That's deep.
You are what you eat. You are what you eat, because if you need, this is fuel for you. So what we eat, remember, if you don't eat, you starve, right?
Yeah.
You'll starve because your body, the food you eat is what's feeding your cells. So if you're eating corn and soy and you got a cow that's eating corn and soy, you know that's what his his meat, everything in him is corn and soy. That's what we're eating, corn and soy.
Oh,
So when you get to talking about food, then you get to grass-fed, grass-finished beef, pasture-raised eggs. You know, it's a different conversation. You know, but
we need 2 hours.
So I mean, so just so you know that it's more than just not eating the butter pecan ice cream. That is not going to kill you.
Yeah.
That butter pecan, people are confused. That butter pecan or that small fry they get that's not what's killing us. It's the way that they're raising the animals and the way that they're doing this GMO, which is what I was telling Elvin, I want to make sure I have the white seeds and the black seeds.
Tell him about that. That's funny.
I am not eating a watermelon without black seeds in it because it's GMO. I want the seeds, and so Elvin, go ahead, Elvin.
I said this. She said it's strange. There's no seeds in there. I said it's very funny because they always take the black seeds out. They racial. It's racial already. The watermelon is racial. They took the black seed out.
Yeah, what's up with that? I couldn't stop laughing because I didn't even think about that because the white seeds are in it. The white seeds are in the GMOs.
But the black seeds are out. See, the racism right there.
Oh man, that is so funny. Yeah, it's the white seeds are left in the GMO, and I'm like, what? I didn't even think about that.
Have you always wanted to start your own business, but didn't know where to begin? Have you already started but realized you were lacking the basic essentials for establishing your venture? We have good news for you. Bay Scholars Inc. has created an online entrepreneurial course that will show you step by step how to start your business and the requirements needed to maintain it. Through use of whiteboard animation and screencast videos, our Young Entrepreneur Program basic course will give you a thorough understanding while keeping you engaged and anticipating the next lesson. And the best part is that this course is completely free. Go to www.yepbayscholars.org and start learning today.
Other areas in the medical field do you want to accomplish? Is there any other field that you want to accomplish, that you want to study or become familiar with?
No, I'd like to broaden my horizons with functional medicine. I mean, there's a point, and even a couple years ago, I was able to go back to the PA program and do a functional, as a functional speaker to the PA students. I think that we need to be educated more on understanding how not to put the Band-Aid on. The issue, and one of the things that people may take for granted, and when the doctor asked me to come in and speak on functional medicine, is that it's a very hard thing to grasp. And some people will say, but why didn't the doctor tell me that? Why didn't the doctor say that? It's another area of learning that takes a lot of time. It is not, there is no textbook that is written per se where you can go to school in that capacity and learn. We already know that if they're having cough, you get an x-ray, you get gold standard, you get this. If they're diabetes, these are the medicines. If they have high blood pressure, these are the medicines. Make sure you get an echo, make sure you get a this, and make sure you get it. But when it comes to functional medicine, and you have to take that one person and stand them up and say, let me try to figure out what's going on with this person. It's not going to look like you and you are not going to look the same. And even though you can have the same, yours is coming from this, yours is coming from that. So, I mean, and then it's a total different treatment paradigm, because yours stems from your adrenals, yours is stemming from this. So, I mean, it's so I always tell patients, don't be mad or upset at the doc. It's another, they are very busy in traditional medicine. This takes a lot of learning. I was in Florida for I remember when I got the opportunity to work with Dr. Sayers, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. This is a thought leader. Dr. Sayers wrote, I mean, I just put one book in there. I mean, this guy is very well known down there, from the Trump to everybody knows Dr. Sayers, Al Sayers. And when I went to work with him, I thought, wow, I'm going to be mentoring with this doctor, and I'm going to learn all about functional medicine, hyperbaric oxygen, stem cells. And I was there for about, I was supposed to mentor with him for 8 weeks. Maybe 3 weeks in, he was like, bye, I'm going to Africa now. And I thought, what? Why are you going to Africa? Like, he had patience, and oh yeah, that's okay. He says, you've got it. You can see the pain. It was from morning to night. I was on every forum, Institute for Functional Medicine. I was doing modules. I was in class I'm telling you, it never stopped. For the 4 years I was down there, it was like there was no way that I could even socialize. And my cousins lived in Florida. I saw them 3 times because I was busy learning. Every day I had something new to learn. And I thought, wow, what was I doing back then? Like in the regular medicine. Like if this is about hormone therapy, like I do bioidentical hormone replacement. I talk about all kinds of different things. And I thought, but what would even back to when I was a kid, like a young, when you're 18, 19, you get no hormone. I had to tell my girls, do not ever take birth control. You get I don't take that, because you're supposed to have that communication with your brain and your ovaries turned on, or you will be depressed, or you will have, can you imagine? That's how God made it, for the ovaries to communicate with the thyroid, communicate with the brain. When you start shutting things off with any kind of medication, anything that you're not supposed to put in your body that has been formulated in a laboratory, wow, you better make sure you really need that, because for every good thing it happens, it cuts something else out. So this is an area of learning in the functional space that is continuous. It is never ending. And I can tell you, patients will come in and you will learn from them because they bring something new. Sometimes you're like, you have to, I've had a patient sitting there with something that's not really conducive to what we're doing. But while they're talking, and because I know what I'm doing with them on this end, I'm bringing up on my computer, they can't see my computer, what they just said to me. Like, what? That just blew my mind. Like, what did they just say to me?
Wow.
You know, where did they get this from? And I'm looking, and I'm like, and I go to Dr. Kelman and they're like, for real? I'm like, yeah. Or Dr. Kelman will know it. He'll like, yeah, that's, this. Or he's like, what? Where'd they get that from? I'm like, I know. So it's a space where you are never that conceited, or you don't have that much an ego to know that there's so much information out there, but you have to organize it with your medical brain to know to filter in and out what makes sense and what does not. Wow. And if it makes sense, then it must be something that I have to look more into. But so the functional space is definitely the space that I would like to stay on. And to me, it's a space that you don't have to go in to see a doctor. It's a space where about colonics, or about supplements and other things that you should be doing. If you have, I get people saying that, oh, the doctor said I have pre-diabetes. Right? Oh, they said I said there's no such thing. There is no such thing as pre-diabetes.
Yeah.
Get something before
It
that.
takes years.
Mm.
It takes years for that hemoglobin A1C to even be higher, of blood being in, of sugar being in your bloodstream. There is no such thing. You have diabetes or you don't, and they'll wait.
Wow.
They'll watch it because they know when you get it. This is what the book says: metformin, this, that, the other. That's how they know how to treat. The prevention would be cinnamon, berberine, some other supplements to reduce the blood sugar. Diet. Why are you getting it? Is it autoimmune diabetes? There's autoimmune diabetes.
Wow.
I have patients saying I got in type 1, and I tell them no, type 1 is juvenile when you have as a kid, that you only need insulin. They say, oh no, I only need insulin. I say no, you pass that. There's autoimmune, then there's type 2 that has been so bad that now you just need insulin because your pancreas is just not working the way it should. But so then there are different things to do, and there's different ways to look at it. So I can tell you that when we talk about what extra learning I would do, I am so blessed to have the medical background I have. Because remember, I started from 98. And when I took my mother to the doctor, I met a young PA, very, very, very nice. And she says, oh my gosh, you work in functional medicine. I've always wanted to work in functional medicine. I said, well, when did you graduate? She said 2 years. And I said, you need a lot of medicine. You really got to understand medicine to be able to understand the functional side, because you know that there is nobody you're focused on, because that's the place of medicine. Medicine is wonderful, but you know how to use that on the functional side. And because there's going to be a time where you have to give a prescription, right? You cannot just throw that away. You have to know what's going on medically with somebody. And not think that if somebody has cancer, you can't just say no medication for you. You can't do that. No chemo, no, you can't step out and do that. That's witchcraft kind of medicine.
It is.
There's a place. There's a place for everything. There's been a time when I had to. You walk in, somebody's eating a pizza, and their blood pressure's 220 over 120, and I'm talking, well, let's talk about diet now. No, I'm going to have to give you something so you don't have a heart attack first, and then get you off the medicine. I'm not going to be sitting there saying, well, let's try to work on your diet while they're going to walk outside and have a stroke, But
Wow. See, and this is very
This is great.
This is very, very important for those who don't know. I mean, and for us, we don't know these things because we think, we say, oh, we'll be all right. But when the more seasoned, I don't want to say older, because you're looking at me with that look like, yeah, he look a little old right here.
I tell him to say marinated.
No, I'm not marinated. We think I'm a steak.
Well,
anyway, when you happen to get more seasoned and your body doesn't act the same when you was younger. And that leads to my next question.
Is that why you couldn't have that barbecue chicken late at night at 12 midnight?
The devil is a lie. I ain't no barbecue chicken on late at night. They ain't gonna tear me up. And this is a family show. We trying to make it a family show. But no, I ain't gonna do that. But this leads to my next question. My next question is this? Well, when you was young, what was your ideal career? Was this one of your things that you wanted to do in your career, or as we showed earlier, the picture that you had your singing career? But we'll talk about that some other time. Okay. Tell me some more.
When I was younger, I mean, I know I've probably shared some of this with Kimmy. I had always been on this thing to, with self-esteem, and I think it would. A part of that struggle was my weight and just what I thought about myself.
Right.
And then we have a family dynamic that didn't lend to that. But I always had optimism, and I was always a happy-go-lucky type of person. And I always felt that things would be different. And I would have never thought that I'd be in this space, but I knew I did not feel like I looked the way I wanted to, because I was so overweight. I just didn't feel good. It just didn't, it just turned out this way. But I know that if I was in a different career, it would be something that was helping people in maybe a different kind of way. There are many different ways, like what you guys are doing, that is impactful in people's lives. There's teachers, there are police officers. I mean, yes, I said police officers, for those of you who are going to get mad.
You know, I got family members that police officers.
Yeah.
When you think about a police officer, you have to wonder that you have to know that every day that officer is out there, he's thinking he's going to die. He's putting himself out on the line. Yes, just like teachers and doctors, that doctors kill people, teachers kill. There's all kinds of things that go on in the medical field. There's all kinds of things that go on in different, there are teachers that molest kids. So you cannot put a label on any profession and do that. We know that in every profession there's people that don't do the right thing. So I think that I would have been in a profession that has that would have been helping people in some way. I just feel it. And I wouldn't know what it was. I went to school and became a PA, and I tell you, one of the first things I thought when I was becoming a PA was, well, the money's good, you know.
That's the number one thing.
I'll be able to help people, but I wasn't fond of the medication side. But I thought I could probably do something different in it. So while I was a PA, I became a certified personal trainer. Then I went to integrative nutrition, and and got my holistic medical background. And then I went to life coaching, School of Life Coaching. So I did those things while I was a PA, while working as a PA. And I'm so blessed that I took this whole journey. I just feel wonderful about it. I know that now I just want to be able to have this kind of forum where I can give more information and education to more people than just one or two that I see in the office, because there's an 8-hour day. You know, you can't really see that many people in 8 hours. But
I will say this, that God has you on this journey. That you had to go through all that you had to go through and do all of the schooling and actually go through it hands-on to bring you into a time like this, because everybody knows it's the end times, okay? You have to, God has put you where you're at to educate not only our people, but I see you probably as the Moses of the medicine, of the holistic medicine that'll help people come out of the poisonous relationship they have with food. I'm keeping it real.
Yeah.
Because we do have a poisonous relationship with food, and we have to know, like it says in the Bible, what to eat and what not to eat. Because they're filling all of these animals with horrible chemicals, and they're not going to tell us. They're not going to tell us. So I believe God is truly using you in this journey right now to educate us, because we eating poisonous food and not even realizing why we're acting and why we're sick. I'm keeping it real. Why I've been so tired, like I feel like a 9-year-old is probably better than me right now.
That wasn't because of butter pecan, was it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm so tired all the time, and the pain in my neck. The pain in my neck.
Oh, the pain in the neck. Let me get off the show, because she's trying to say I'm the pain.
Neck hurts.
She said neck.
It's all of these things. So I want to learn how to eat healthy, and I told him, I'm not the only one that's gonna also lose my stomach and get my gut right.
Now she's gonna blow me up in front of. I'm glad we don't see the whole body. No, don't hurt the brother now.
God is the center for immunity, so you definitely want to build up your immune system, and so you have your microbiome that we have to all work on and understand that this is something that we're not pretty much told. We just have these. You see Good Morning America, you see Dr. Vincent Pedre on there, and then you see. And they're always talking about gut avocados, eat one of these every day. And it may be, who he's appealing to, though, right?
Yes.
We have to talk about cultural sensitivity when it comes to some of the foods that we like to eat. And there's nothing wrong with those foods. It's where that meat is coming from, where that what's going on with it. But there are good places and good sources that you can get that meat. Like these new burgers they have, these vegetarian, you could not pay me enough money to eat that.
I don't know what it is.
Oh my! Let me tell you, if I was younger and having kids, I may die sooner from it, but my kids may be okay because of natural selection, right? Remember, our kids are able to do things that we start doing. Then when you have offspring, they're more adapt to it. Then you have they have a child, and the child is more adapt to it, which is why your diet it has a lot to do with where you come from, what your cultural, what you do culturally when you sit down to eat. And if you come from a different, if you just wanted to eat one avocado a day, I know I can eat an avocado a day and I get heartburn.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's so much education that needs to take place with cultural sensitivity. Because like I said, we all know what we should and should not eat. But the things that they're telling us to eat is the worst things. This burger that has quinoa, all kinds of things in it. That's vegetables were never meant. Well, I would say carbohydrates, not really so much vegetables, because the carbs and potatoes and those things were never meant to add all of this oil and all of this stuff and do all of these things and crunch it around and do all of this. What has natural fat in it is your meat and your protein and your fish, your salmon, your wild salmon, right? Those were not meant for that. And those are something that if you get people who are diabetic and they tell them to stop eating rice and don't eat potatoes and don't eat all of these other things. And I always tell them, if you stuck to just eating the stuff in that part of the supermarket where the potatoes are and the vegetables are, and don't eat anything processed, you'd be all right. They go, oh, well, can I have gluten-free processed? Can I have gluten-free crackers? Dr. Kelman and I used to have this discussion all the time because he had gluten-free stuff. I said, you couldn't pay me enough to have a gluten-free piece of bread. If I'm having bread, it's regular bread. I am not going to put that stuff that they ground up in that just to make it bread. That's all, I mean, it's just, we have to think more clean, and we have to say that if we're going to eat what we're going to eat, then maybe you'll make the bread yourself. You know that there's something called transglutaminase that is a problem in bread that keeps, remember when you guys, look, we're all about the same age except for Kimmy. Kimmy's younger. But you remember when they used to get bread and your mother, I don't know about yours, would kill you if you didn't put it in the fridge right away.
Oh,
because it would turn green.
That's right.
It would turn green. Take the bread, like I told Elvin, take that bread out and put it out and see how long it takes for it to turn green. That bread doesn't turn green for I think 2 weeks, and then it starts turning green. You have to ask yourself, what is in that bread that I'm eating like glue that is keeping that bread from that? Because anything that's natural and fresh will rot in a couple of days. If you buy chicken that is pasture raised, it has a smell to it. It tastes good when you cook it, but it has a smell because there's nothing added to it. And if you don't cook it within 2 days, it's rotten. It's spoiled.
That's true.
It's not good after the 2 days. You can put that Perdue in your fridge and it stays in there. You can have that Perdue in there for quite a while. So it's not about, like I said, there's no 100%, right? Because we're not going to go, you're going to go out and eat a grilled chicken, whatever you're going to eat outside. You got to be able to enjoy yourself. You can't say, well, is that a pasture raised chicken? That has, you probably got to get a divorce. You won't have any friends. Something's going to happen. Is that steak I'm having grass-fed, grass-finished?
Did he eat grass or did he eat soy?
Your friends would never want to go out with you again.
No.
If you had those kind, you got to be able to live. Like, that's why I said it's not 100. Nothing is 100%, but at least most of your time you spend thinking you know, let's say Friday and Saturday you like to go hang out. At least you know the other days you keep it, you know, you keep it the way you want to keep it, you know.